Mark Allen.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mark Allen. I'm at 345 Parkview Lane South. I'm very opposed to this process and this proposal. I think we're all adults and we're all able to make our own decisions about what trash haulers we should have, how much we're willing to pay for that service. And I certainly don't want the city of Maplewood to inject itself into that contracting process between me and some private company. When I first moved to Maplewood in 2005, we were with a different trash hauler. What we found is we had terrible service with them. We even had missed pickups, and we had a lot of problems. And so we switched. We switched to Tennis, and we've been very, very happy with them. And I'd just like to really encourage you to stop this process. I don't really think it's going to be a value add to the city or certainly to our tax revenues. And so I'd really like to encourage you to stop and vote against this. Thank you.
All right, we're going to drop back then to Mr. Bradley, because I see he's here.
Mark Bradley, 2164 Woodland. I apologize for not being here when you called. I had to pick up my son. I was going to talk to you about if you're going to do any research on this, we should really looking at the parts of the animal that are a problem, not the parts that are actually very well being done. And that's not the haulers. That happens to be the E part of it, where we're talking about ecology, where we can actually take the weight of loads out, make it easier to carry and all that. A couple of suggestions I could tell you, since this is supposed to be for investigation purposes anyway. Let's take a look at any type of solid mass being done. Ramsey's already has 3 recycling centers in the area that we can use. And if we're doing it, we can haul to those, or we can have our own specific. But if you've gone up to the one that I dropped my mass at, it has large piles of dirt for use, and wood chips for putting around my trees and anything else. And actually, it is saving the citizens a lot of money and a lot of time and effort. And this is something we could look at for ourselves as a city as well. That would make the haulers' efforts easier because they would have less to haul. Would also make it where we have less that has to be disposed, which means we can use facilities longer. Also, we're looking at then that what we are going to be denigrating is going to be much less, because we can actually do more sorting of the materials that are left after we've taken out all of the biomass. So in this respect, I'm suggesting 2 ideas. First, look at just having a biomass haul where you're taking all of that material that really you can use yourself anyway in the city, and that saves you having to buy it from a third party. And the other one is having long-haul carriers. But this also can be done by the actual trash carriers themselves if they're interested in it, looking at that they can use smaller trucks on the local pickups and then have a long carry unit for carrying it to wherever we're going to be having it processed, or they're having it processed, depending on who's doing the program at that point. But this is the type of thing we should be doing in conjunction with them, not in competition with them. And I think it's something we should be sitting down with all these carriers. I think that they have a lot of intelligence and ability, and we should be discussing long-range plans, because it affects them just as much as it affects our city. And when we run out of places to dump stuff, we're going to have to put it someplace else. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then we have Jackie Turner. On deck is Mary Jane Schuler.
Hi, I am a resident at 1136 East County Road D, and my family and I have been residents of Maplewood for nearly 60 years. I wanted to just comment that I am opposed to organized trash hauling for many of the same reasons that other people have already said, so I won't take time to reinstate that. Although I would like to say that competition is good. It's good for the economy. It's good for customer service. I, too, have used the same trash company for years, and service went down, prices went up, and to have the ability to be able to price shop and compare services and options was excellent. And in service industries where we've seen competition go away, such as cable and other services, prices continually go up. Same thing with electrical and other services. We've seen it also with cell phone companies and others. When competition is not there, companies tend to not listen as well to their customer base. And I would not like to see that happen with the trash collection. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jane, and on deck is Mitchell Iberson.
Hi, Mary Jane Schuler, 2648 East Geranium Avenue. I'm against this. If it does go through, I would like to see no extra charges added on for anything else that you would decide you would like to put them on. And I would like to, if it goes through, I would like to be billed by the hauler and not by the city. And I just wanted to let the people know that if you are unhappy with your rate that you have, you can always have called your hauler and let them know that, and they will reduce your rate. You do not have to change haulers. I've done it many times, and I've cut my rate in half by double. And one other thing I wanted to say, we've lived on the street we live on for 45 years, and I don't know how long the street was there before us. It was just replaced 2 years ago. We have Yoakum oil trucks and fire trucks going up and down it every day, and it lasted for 45 years that I know of, and I don't know when it was put in to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you. What? No applause? I thought she did good. So this is Michael, and then we have Al Benjamin on deck.
Mitchell Imbertson.
Excuse me,
500 North Farrell. Here to speak against organized trash service. I see this as just primarily an issue of freedom of association and freedom of choice between the providers. I think the pros and cons that we've gone through, while valid points, they're things that I take into account in picking the trash service myself. It's not something that I think needs to be done on a citywide level. I've heard a lot of comparison to treating this as a public utility, and I don't see the direct comparison between trash and water or sewer service or other things that we're drawing conclusions from here. There's pretty obvious reasons why we can't have multiple competing sewer services underneath the same street, but when the street's already designed to tolerate the load of a trash truck that's going over that street, I don't see a couple additional trips per week making any significant difference to that. You know, we don't have that kind of control over any other industry sending trucks over the street as long as they're small enough to go on the residential street. I'm sure it's a load on that, but it's just not a valid point, and I don't see any other reasons as well to treat that way. There's just no compelling reason to grant a monopoly there the same way we would with other utilities. It's like any other service where we can contract with who we want to choose and weigh the pros and cons on our own. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Al Benjamin.
Hi, my name's Al Benjamin. I live on Elm Street. This is my first council meeting. I don't have any evil things to say about you, Councilman. Maybe I don't know you well enough. I don't know. Beginning to wonder. We're all always asked to make decisions, and it seems like we don't usually have enough information. And I think on this one, when you look at the pros and cons, I'm not convinced that, when somebody says it's cheaper to do it a certain way, is it really cheaper? Is that all the cost? Is it the administrative costs that we'd have to add to the city that would shake out somewhere else? When we talk about the ruining the roads and the load limits, I don't know if that's true or not. If all these trucks are driving around, if there's twice as many of them, well, then I guess they're half empty, so they're not loading the roads as much, they're not making as many trips. There's only so much garbage or trash that's going to the transfer centers or wherever it's going, so that's a given no matter who's hauling it. And if it takes them longer to pick up because there's more of them in the neighborhood, well, then they're not going there that often. So I don't know that that's eating up the roads as much. There's probably more people hauling FedEx, hauling eBay stuff back and forth. So I tend to agree. And like a lot of people here, I did cut my bill by down to 1/3, and it stayed down all these years. I think, as far as I know, I think the city government's doing a decent job, but we don't have to make it any bigger. Maybe there's better things that you can spend your time on. So right now, and one thing about it is, right now we got a choice of going either way. Once we implement a government-run policy, it's probably going to stay that way forever. So maybe it's something we wait a while and take a look at a while down the road and try some bigger stuff now. We certainly don't want to have any more administrative costs. We're broke now. Most of the cities and state municipalities are, so I don't see the need for it. But if I could see some information, it would. That's the thing. I mean, we're all up here and nobody's convinced it's a good idea. Well, then I guess we haven't gotten enough information to convince us. It doesn't look that way. And as far as, I guess, my opinion on everybody thinking it's getting rammed down our throats, I guess you wouldn't have invited us here if it was. So, like you say, you haven't even got into saying, should you look at it? But unless there's some compelling things out there, and I'd love to see them, put them in the newsletter, put them out there, but just to say they beat up the roads, it's cheaper the other way, I don't know that. They're perceptions, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Joe Carbala. Joe.
You probably know my good friend Dave Current, who calls me that. It's Joe Carbajal. I'm with the 1700 block of City Heights. And if you need the exact address, you can just ask one of the fine members from the Maplewood Police Department, because they seem to find it very well. Now, I am for private haulers because I did get a knock on the front door 3 years ago, and just like the other gentleman said, they gave me a good deal, and I have not had any problems since. And they know that if somebody else comes to the front door knocking and giving me an even better deal, they know they will lose my business the very next week. Secondly, we seem to be discussing road wear and tear. Now, I really don't think that a truck with rubber wheels is causing as much damage as a truck with rubber wheels hauling 40 tons of salt with a 1-ton blade scraping the road for 8 months out of the year. I come from a desert town, and we had city hauling, and I was not able to make any changes. The roads were not an issue because we have no blades scraping the roads. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Jack Anderson.
Hi, I'm Jack Anderson. I live at 2878 Meadowlark Lane. I've lived in Maplewood for almost 50 years. I've never changed haulers. The first one we had has changed their name several times and companies and stuff, but I've always had good service. And just to add to all the other people, I am opposed to this program. Add one more to that. In the beginning, I think you implied that the city was neutral on this cause. I've always thought you were poor listeners. And if I look up there, I see the pro list. You're in favor of all this stuff. How come your list, you only hear what you want to hear? Look at your list. It got so long. Look at the other list. Nothing. Yeah, that's the starting list. The other one's the starting list. The top of the other one is efficiency. Anytime the government tells me, the blue sheet, ma'am, the blue sheet. You aren't listening. Efficiency. Anytime the government says we can do it more efficient than anybody else, I wonder what you're smoking that I can't buy. So, and, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it is another slogan that goes around. And what else have we got? See, I had a little sheet, but I've heard it also many times. Oh, the last item on there is, I only come here when I'm here to find out what you're trying to do to me. I don't come here when I'm trying to find out what you're going to do for me, because I never hear about that. So I guess that's it. But just add me to that list of being opposed to your program. I think it's more foolishness, like that idiotic traffic circle you were going to